It is July of the year 717. The morning air over Constantinople is hot and still. Church bells ring. Fishermen push their boats into the Golden Horn. From the south, the sea turns black with ships. The Umayyad Caliphate has come to finish what it started 50 years earlier. 80,000 soldiers march overland through Thrace. 1,200 warships row toward the sea walls. Their commander is Moslama bin Malik, brother of the Caliph. His orders are simple. Take the city, kill the emperor, open the road into Europe. Inside the walls, the new Emperor Leo III has less than 15,000 trained men. The granaries are half empty. The Great Chain is raised across the harbor. For 300 years this city has been the gate between East and West. If it falls, there is nothing left to stop an army from marching to the Danube, to Italy, to France. Then a small Byzantine warship slips out from the wall. On its bow is a bronze tube shaped like a lion's head.
A crewman works a hand pump.
A jet of liquid fire shoots 30 feet across the water. It does not arc like an arrow.
It roars.
The fire hits the lead Arab ship. The sail ignites instantly. Men jump into the sea, but the sea is burning. The fire floats on the water and clings to wood and skin. Water does not put it out. It spreads it. The Arab fleet breaks in panic. In one afternoon, an invasion 2 years in the making begins to collapse. Historians have asked for 1,200 years, what if that fire had failed? If Constantinople had fallen in 717, the Eastern Roman Empire ends that day. The armies of the Caliphate pour into the Balkans. There is no one to stop them from reaching Venice, Rome, and the Frankish kingdoms. Charles Martel never gets his chance at Tours 15 years later, because he would face not a raid from Spain, but a full empire attacking from east and west at once. There would be no Holy Roman Empire. No preservation of Roman law. The libraries that kept Plato and Aristotle alive would burn. The idea we call Western civilization might never recover. All of that future hung on one weapon: the Greek fire. To understand that day, you have to understand how tired the world was. For 26 years, from 602 to 628, the Byzantines and the Persians fought the longest war of history. Cities from Antioch to Alexandria were sacked. Jerusalem fell. The true cross was carried away. Emperor Heraclius finally won, but both empires were hollowed out. Treasuries were empty. Armies were dead. Plague had already cut the population in half a century earlier. While Rome and Persia bled, a new force rose in Arabia. In 632, the Prophet Muhammad died, leaving a strong Arab army behind. His successors moved fast. In 636, at the Battle of Yarmouk, a Byzantine army was destroyed in Syria. Within 2 years, Damascus, Antioch, and Jerusalem fell. Between 639 and 642, Egypt fell. With Egypt went 2/3 of Constantinople's grain supply and most of its tax money. Persia collapsed even faster. By 651, the last Persian king was dead. In 20 years, the Arabs had conquered more land than Rome had in 200. The Byzantines still held the sea, until 655. At the Battle of the Masts, off the coast of Lycia, the Arab fleet built in Egypt crushed the imperial navy. Emperor Constans II barely escaped alive. For the first time since the Punic Wars, Rome did not rule the Mediterranean. In 661, Muawiyah founded the Umayyad Caliphate in Damascus, only 300 miles from Constantinople. His fleets took Cyprus, Rhodes, and North Africa. In 711, his armies crossed into Spain. Within 7 years, Spain was gone. Only one obstacle remained in his path: the Constantinople. It sits on a narrow strait where Europe touches Asia. Whoever holds it controls all the trade between the Black Sea and the Mediterranean. It is the cork in the bottle. Think of it as the Fulda Gap of the ancient world, or West Berlin during the Cold War. If it falls, the continent is open.
Muawiyah tried first.
From 674 to 678, his fleets wintered at Cyzicus, just 50 miles away, and attacked every summer. The city held barely. Then the empire fell into 20 years of civil war. 7 emperors in 22 years. The Arabs raided deeper each year. By 715, the new Caliph Sulayman vowed to finish the job. He gathered the largest army the medieval world had ever seen. His brother Moslama would lead it. In the summer of 717, they came. The weapon that met them was not magic. It was brought by a refugee. His name was Kallinikos, from Heliopolis in Syria. When the Arabs conquered his city around 670, he fled to Constantinople. He was an architect and chemist. He knew what the people of Mesopotamia had known for centuries. Crude oil, which they called naphtha, seeps from the ground around the Black Sea. It burns even on water. Emperor Constantine IV gave Kallinikos a workshop in the imperial arsenal. He did not want a miracle. He wanted engineering. Kallinikos mixed light petroleum with pine resin and sulfur. The oil made it burn hot and float. The pine resin made it thick, like modern napalm, so it stuck to wood and flesh. The sulfur made it ignite easily and gave off choking smoke. Some recipes added quicklime, which reacts violently with water, so throwing water on the fire made it worse. But the fuel was only half the weapon. The other half was the pump. Byzantine engineers built a bronze siphon for the bow of their fast warships called dromons. Below deck, a sealed tank of the oil mix was heated over a small brazier.
A hand pump pressurized it.
The crew aimed a swivel nozzle, often shaped like a lion or dragon. A small pilot flame at the mouth lit the jet as it shot out. In 2002, historian John Halden rebuilt it using only Byzantine texts. His team got a flame over 15 meters long, almost 50 feet, burning at more than 1,000 degrees Celsius. It burned on water, exactly as the old chronicles described. The Byzantines protected it like we protected the atomic bomb. Emperor Constantine VII later told his son, the secret was revealed by an angel and must never be shared except with Christians in the imperial city. In reality, the workshops were compartmentalized. The men who mixed the fuel never saw the pump. The pump crews never knew the exact recipe. When enemies captured siphons in 814, they could not make them work. They lacked the fuel, the training, and the full system. Kallinikos first used his fire during the siege of 674 to 678. The Arab fleet tried to force the Golden Horn. Constantine sent out fire ships. The chronicler Theophanes writes that the Arabs lost 30,000 men in Anatolia and their admiral was killed. A storm finished the fleet on the way home. Muawiyah was forced to sign a 30-year peace and pay tribute to Byzantium. It was the first great defeat of Islamic expansion. 40 years later, it saved the city again. Maslama's siege of 717 to 718 lasted 13 months. On September 3, 717, 20 Arab heavy ships tried to enter the Bosporus.
The wind died.
Byzantine dromons attacked with Greek fire. Some ships sank with all hands. Others burned and drifted to the islands. Leo pulled the great chain across the Golden Horn. The Arab admirals were so terrified of the fire, they refused to fight at close range. That mistake kept the sea open. Byzantine fishing boats brought in food all winter. Then came the winter of 717. Snow lay for 3 months. The Arab army, camped outside the walls, starved. They ate their horses, then their camels, then bark and roots.
Disease spread.
Arab sources say they resorted to cannibalism. In spring 718, 2 relief fleets arrived with food. 400 ships from Egypt and 360 from Africa. Their crews were mostly Egyptian Christians. They defected and told Leo the plan. At night, Byzantine fire ships attacked. Trapped and helpless against the liquid fire, the relief fleets were burned or captured. Then Leo's Bulgar allies attacked from the rear. Theophanes records 22,000 Arabs killed in that one battle. On August 15, 718, Moslama lifted the siege. On the retreat, a storm in the Sea of Marmara sank more ships. Theophanes claims only 5 of the original 1,800 returned to Syria. Arab historians admit 150,000 men died. The Umayyad Caliphate never recovered. Within 30 years, the dynasty fell. The dream of taking Constantinople was abandoned. The frontier froze in eastern Turkey for 700 years. Greek fire was used for another 4 centuries. It broke the Rus attack on Constantinople in 941, when 15 Byzantine ships destroyed a fleet of 1,000 Viking longboats. It was used against Bulgars, Normans, and Pisans. Anna Komnene, a princess writing in 1100 AD, describes it clearly. Then it disappeared. Not because the recipe was lost in one night, but because the empire lost what it needed to make it. The key ingredient was light crude oil from wells around the Black Sea in Crimea and Georgia. When the Turks and Italians cut those trade routes, the arsenals ran dry. In 1204, the Fourth Crusade sacked Constantinople. The imperial workshops were burned. The families who knew the system were killed or scattered. There was no manual left. By the 1300s, gunpowder arrived. Cannons could throw a stone 300 yards in any weather. A siphon only reached 15 meters and needed calm seas.
The world moved on.
So why does this matter to Americans today? Greek fire bought time. For 700 years, It kept one city alive while Western Europe was too weak to defend itself. Inside those walls, monks copied Plato, Aristotle, Galen, and Roman law. When Constantinople finally fell in 1453, those scholars fled to Italy with their books. That flood of ancient knowledge sparked the Renaissance.
Think of the chain.
A Syrian refugee in 672 invents a pump. A pump that saved the Western civilization twice. That city saves the books. Those books teach the men who built the modern West. John Julius Norwich wrote, "It is impossible to exaggerate the importance of Greek fire in Byzantine history." For those of us who grew up in the Cold War, this story feels familiar. The Byzantines lived for 7 centuries with a deterrent weapon they hoped never to use, but had to keep ready. It was not a missile. It was a bronze tube that made the sea burn. It was never used to conquer. It was only used to hold a wall. In that sense, it may be the most moral superweapon ever built.
The secret is gone. The empire is gone.
What remains is the debt. That night in 717, when Arab sailors saw water catch fire, they thought they were seeing the end of the world. They were actually seeing the beginning of ours. It burned on water, so that we could walk on land. Let me know which other topic you want to next.
And
follow for history that is real, but sounds fake.